We've invited partners today to serve on a panel and share in person with you some of their communication success stories. So Jim, let me begin with you and ask the same question I asked of the media panel, which is, when it comes to Census 2010, what strategies have worked for you in the past, and what do you intend to do this time around?
We want to go at this over the course of this next year with a three-pronged approach. One is our efforts here at Goodwill Industries International, focusing on educating our 160 Goodwills, their organizations, and their leaders. The second approach is a Leaders to Leaders program. Each local Goodwill CEO and leader is integrated into that community, part of the business community, the not-for-profit community. We really think we have that sweet spot, that intersection between caring and enterprise. And then I think most importantly, how do we take the tools that the census are providing, customize them, and provide tools and toolkits to our 160 Goodwills and 2,200 stores so that they can reach the hard-to-reach and hard-to-serve population and hard-to-count population.
Wade Henderson, thank you for coming out this morning. This obviously must be a very important effort to all of your constituencies. Where have you seen strategies that have worked, especially with difficult-to-penetrate populations?
Our strategy is based first on the notion that in coalition there is strength. If you're not working with core groups who in fact engage in this activity, you're not developing a strategy to be effective. By developing a strategy of common outreach, common messaging, and recognizing where we have strength so that we avoid duplication of effort is a way that we help to be effective. And then secondly, we work with community-based organizations, organizations that we know have the trust of the communities in which they serve. And then lastly on that front, we look at immigrant rights groups, groups that work in the immigrant community to overcome those challenges of reaching out to individuals who are afraid of reporting their identity for fear of deportation. So those are big issues. Now there are challenges. The challenges, of course, are reaching hard-to-reach communities who are fearful of government involvement. African American communities, Asian communities, all the communities here have a similar problem in that respect.
Jacquelyn, can you tell us, in your experience working with tribal areas, what you have found to be effective when it comes to asking people to participate in the census?
It's all about Indian country counts. That's the theme that we're working forward. But we know that it's got to be the messaging that really makes a difference to our communities. If our people don't see the value, they've got this distrust of the federal government asking these kinds of questions, but they need to see the value. Why does it make a difference to them at home? And that's where we come in, is because we're able to say, from this, a national organization, working through the infrastructure we developed for Native Vote. So we have this grassroots model that we've already developed, where every tribe has a person who's appointed to be in charge, or the local messenger, the grassroots organizer around these things, going to powwows, going to other kinds of summer events, other traditional gatherings that our communities feel comfortable at, and making sure that the message resonates to them about why we need to stand and be counted.
Well, let me skip over now to Maria Teresa Peterson, who's the Executive Director of Voto Latino. You've got a high bar, in much the way that we were talking with Jacquelyn a moment ago about relationship to government. In your case, people feeling that the government immigration is a problem. But you're looking at young people, and young people in your community. What message are you sending to them?
We recognize far and foremost that young people in their community, way before they turned 18 years old, they were already leaders within their household. They were the influencers because they were helping their families understand what this place is, America. And so we've recognized that leadership from early on. We appreciate it when they turn 18, but our hope is to go deeper this time and actually go into grade schools. And we're working with we're working on storyboarding with one national media organization, and we'll share that later. But really storyboarding and recognizing that these young people already have the ears of their parents.
But what's the message?
Right, no, and the message is, in this case, be counted, represent, and talk to your parents about it. And what we find is ultimately that these young people influence their parents in ways that we haven't seen before.
Our next panelist is Hilary Shelton, Director of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP's Washington Bureau. When you look back on how the NAACP has partnered with Census in the past, what has been the most effective strategy?
As you know, the 2000 census was the most effective count that we've had in the African American community in the history of the census since we began doing this, of course. And working with the Census Bureau then, and as we're looking forward to working with the Census Bureau now, the things that were most successful was utilizing our 2,200 membership units that have been very helpful in helping people understand what the census really is and the things they don't have to worry about. Because Juan, one of the questions you're asking is, how do we get past some of those obstacles in getting people to participate? Well, one of the ways, as you mentioned, is the messenger, making sure those enumerators are people from those local communities. People they see at the grocery store, at the town hall meeting, people they see at their children's parent-teachers meetings are also the people that are going to be walking up to their steps, ringing their doorbells, and very well asking them to give them the information and data.
Karen, let me ask you the same question. What's your experience? What's the most effective strategy?
Well, the Asian American Justice Center actually led an Asian American census campaign in 2000 in order to address the historic undercounts that happen to minority communities. It's a particularly challenging community because 2/3 of our community are foreign-born, 1/3 are limited English proficient, and it's very challenging because we're also very fragmented by language. And so the Census Bureau is putting in a lot of resources into trying to communicate in at least I think about a dozen of the Asian languages, formally only 3. So you can imagine how much more communicating there needs to be done, and it's best done by someone who comes from that community.
All right, thank you to this panel. We appreciate it very much.